Welcome to Empowering Seniors. I'm your host, Katherine Ambrose. Today we have Heather Brooks with the National Aging in Place Council. Heather, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Katherine.
So tell us what the National Aging in Place Council is.
The National Aging in Place Council is a council that helps people of all across America age in place safely. It's having everything to do with the community right into your home. And there is a misconception on what is aging in place. And aging in place means it's going to be the home that you are going to age in safely in, and not necessarily the current home you're in.
So it could be your current home or it could be the next home. And then when you talk about community, how does that come into play?
So National Aging in Place is NAIPC, and we have chapters all over the United States, and we are education-based. We have over 63 different types of occupations that cover the aging fields. So as I said, it's not just about the home, it's about everything that's encompassing the aging sector. And we have specialists that you are vetted, that you can go to and you can find in your area that work within the aging field.
And why is it an important topic for Washington, D.C. and people all across the country and all across the globe to be focused on this?
That's such a great question, because there is not enough education and movement going on within the aging sector. If you look at other countries, Japan, China, some other places, their aging population is much older than we are here in the United States. We happen to be a little bit younger than those countries. But when you're looking at us as a country, there's some fascinating statistics that are going on. By 2034, those over the age of 65 will outnumber those under the age of 19 for the first time in U.S. history. So that's a very historical, I should say, event here in the United States. However, we are also living longer. With that being said, we've doubled the amount of centenarians, meaning the people that live over 100. We've doubled that in the last 10 years. We're set to quadruple it by 2050. So the aging sector's a pretty massive push in doing things that are aging friendly, aging in place, and being safe while aging in your home and in your community.
Do you know what statistics there are in terms of people wanting to age in the current home that they're in?
So my background is housing, and I ended up becoming an aging in place specialist because none of my clients wanted to move. They all want to stay in their home. Statistically, we do know through national data, more than 70% of those over the age of 65 want to live in their home and remain in their home. They've lived in it for many, many years and not wanting to leave. Familiarity is a big thing for us. We like that. We enjoy that. So it's very difficult to just after 40, 50 years of picking up and leaving a home. So that's where the aging in place safely comes in. That's a big pivot. If you want to remain in that home and be that statistic of the 70% of Americans that choose to stay there, there's some things that you should do in order to ensure your safety as you age and in the aging process.
So you realized your clients didn't really want to move. So then you started figuring out how to help them stay.
And that's my favorite part.
And so what are some of the techniques or tools that you use to help people stay?
I think education is paramount. First, you need to make sure that people are educated on why they need these changes. We see in national data that falls are a big thing. And we also know that once you take a fall, chances of going back into your home, if you didn't make modifications, are not that high. So there are specific modifications that need to be done. We also know that slip and falls, 1 in 3, they happen in the home. So to take the precautionary measures to do this is important. But people look at it and go, oh, it's my granny's grab bar. I don't want to put a grab bar in my shower. And I always tell people, it doesn't have to look like that. There's a misconception. So I think education is a very important part of aging. It doesn't have to look like that. But there are things that need to be done in a home.
Well, the day you might need that handrail might be the day it's too late too. So getting those handrails or grab bars in ahead of time. So how can they look better than people might imagine? It doesn't have to look like your 1970s or 1980s grab bar.
So they've got great products out there. Ponte Giulio's one of them. It's an Italian grab bar line. They don't look like grab bars. You've got towel holders and you've got toilet paper holders that are looking like grab bars. You've got a big push with a lot of the products here in the United States that you see that we all know, typical Moen. They're all coming out with grab bars. It's the installation process that people don't realize and why you need an aging specialist to help you, or somebody that knows there's got to be blocking in a wall that's very specific to hold the grab bar if you go down, and certain placements. And it's not just about the grab bars, it's about getting into the home in a step-free entry, or most of us have bathtubs and we're climbing over a bathtub to get into the shower. And as we get older, that's a little hard to do. So a step-free entry, getting into that shower, a zero-step entry, we call it, there's some beauty to it. If you walk into a spa, the Ritz-Carlton, or you walk into any of these hotels, they're all ADA compliant. And so if they can do it, so can we in your home. It's gonna cost, money. However, if you're already updating your home, why not just take that extra step where it's already done and now you can live there even longer?
So if you walk into your hotel room at the Ritz and you look at the bathroom, you're not going to think, oh, it's ADA compliant. You're going to think it's beautiful.
Yeah. So if you go into their ADA compliant bathrooms, it is gorgeous. It doesn't look like your typical bathroom. There's a lot of videos and stuff that's out there. It's fascinating what they've got. The color combinations, the textures and stuff of tiles. People don't realize, but it also will help with eyesight. As we get older, we have problems with eyesight. We need more lighting. That in itself, there's great patterns out there that would be great for people with eyesight, or textured stuff that would help. So there's great things to put into.
So let's talk about lighting and color. So tell us a little bit more about how lighting and color can make a big impact on your ability to be safe.
Yes. So I feel that lighting is like something that's very important. As we get older, we need more light. After 30, it's the light that we need to intake in our eyes just jumps, and it goes up from there. So task lighting is a big thing. The other part of lighting is the color. You really need colors so it doesn't drown out. You can actually see depth and perception a little bit better than something all clear. But one of the things that's really coming out is underneath beds, I put lights. So when you get up in the middle of the night, we know that most of the falls happen in the home, but when you get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, it's difficult to see. So there are lights you can put under your bed that just light up the underneath of the bed and all of the area around where you're gonna walk, making it easier to get to the bathroom. And as you're walking your hallway, you can have lighting that goes down that can actually help you see where you're walking, rather than turning on all the lights and it waking you up or waking everybody up.
Takes you out of that restful sleep mode. I've never heard of that before, the lighting under the bed. And so I'm just thinking that how many homes that we've dealt with where someone has gotten out of bed, unsteady, fall, and they hit their head on the dresser, and it turns out to be something terrible. And the lighting could help so they know exactly where they are. Or your dog might be right there, and the lighting will really help.
When we get up, we're disoriented, and that seems to be an issue where you do fall in the middle of the night. And it doesn't just happen as an older adult. I myself do. I go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, and I know that lighting that's on the floor, it's not bright enough to keep me up, but I do know that it does help me get to where I need to go.
What are some of your other favorite products to put in a home to create safety?
There's a lot. They've got some great Rubbermaid. Rubbermaid has some great products for shelving and for cabinets. A big issue for most of us is getting down like our kitchen sink and reaching into the back to grab, some kind of something that you need, whether it be a bottle of disinfectant. They've got cabinets that now you just pull something out and everything comes out. Appliances, your mixers, those are heavy. Yeah. We now have great areas where you can pull out a drawer and the mixer just pops up to countertop space. clean the utensils, put the mixer back in, and you can pop it right back in. You're no longer needing to take it from under a cabinet to bring it up. The other thing I'm really loving are microwaves that are no longer high up. The microwaves are now down in a center island, or down at countertop space rather than up top, because, and it's not just older adults, children too. It's very difficult when you have to reach above to bring something down, especially if it's hot. So to have a microwave drawer or a microwave down lower is much easier to take food out of and put it onto a countertop than it going from top to bottom and spilling on you.
So let's talk about the emotion of all this. The idea that we're trying to figure out if we're going to age in place here or make a move somewhere else. What are some of the conversations that you've had with people about investing in these modifications, or knowing when there's perhaps functional obsolescence and moving is the best option?
Everybody's different. You have to, every situation's different. You have to assess it. You have to assess really everything. It encompasses the city and the home, because if you're living in a rural area, the chances of you aging in place safely are going to be much harder than somebody that's living in a city. And as I said before at the beginning, aging in place doesn't necessarily mean just about the home. It's about where you are, meaning you've got to be able to have transportation if you're not able to drive to get to a doctor's appointment. Or if you have an emergency, you've got to be able to get somewhere and not have to rely on a loved one that's living across the country, or somebody that's an hour away or at work and isn't answering the phone.
And you're someplace where professional services can come to you, which enable you to stay in your home longer.
Yes. So finding rural seems to be much harder. The more you are in the city area, it's easier. Transportation, your infrastructure is already there. You have services available. Being in a rural area, it's a little harder. And then your isolation. And that is another factor that a lot of our older adults and our parents go through. Being stuck inside because they aren't able to be, they're not mobile, or they're not allowed to drive anymore, or something puts them in this place. It's a little isolating being kind of far out and not having people around you.
Plus, it's just the comfort of being in the environment that they believe they prefer. And so what does isolation do to people, and how does that factor into the aging in place safely?
Well, isolation is it's a very difficult thing for any of us to do, and nobody is meant to be isolated. We were born with human touch. We were born to connect. Without that connection, it really is, it could be life-threatening. And having services or aging in place safely in your home, meaning you're not going to worry about having to take your activities of daily learning, meaning you can put on things, you can cook for yourself, you can do everything in your home safely. You don't have to worry about an oven being left on or something happening. As an aging place expert, we look at the whole picture, including, are you in a rural area or are you in a city, and what's it really going to take? How many stairs do you have getting into that house? There's 3 main key features as an aging specialist that we look at. We look at, how are we going to get into the house? Step-free entry. It's got to have a 0-step entry. So if you're in a walker or wheelchair, you can get in through the garage, a back door, a front door. We look at that. Otherwise, we're looking at installing a ramp. The second thing we also look at is a full bedroom and bathroom, or a full bathroom and bedroom on the first floor. That's key, because you got to go to the bathroom. You've got to be able to shower and take care of yourself. So that's what we look for. And then the other things are your grab bar, wider doorways. Most of our homes do not have wide enough doorways. So when we have a walker or a wheelchair, we scrape our knuckles when we go through them. It's those little things that people really don't think about as they're aging. So if you can make those little tiny adjustments now, when you have the ability to do it, it can keep you there for so much longer.
Because if you have an injury and then you want to go back home, but you don't have a bedroom on the main floor, you just have a powder room on the main floor, now you have a challenge. So now you're talking about, where am I going to sleep on the main floor? How am I going to bathe?
Well, how are we going to get into the house?
True.
So I can tell you statistically, and these are fascinating statistics, less than 5% of our nation's housing units can actually accommodate somebody with a mobility issue. So that means if you or a loved one takes a slip or a fall, the chances of you doing a modification to that home is high, or you're gonna have to move. And I have coined it the modifier move effect, because if you don't make these modifications now and you're 1 in 3 that takes the slip and fall and ends up using a walker or wheelchair, chances are you either have stairs going into that home, or you don't have a bathroom on the first floor to shower and bathe and, keep yourself clean, and that you're not able to perform those ADL, activities of daily living. Forgive me, not learning, living. Those activities are important to live. It's cooking for yourself, it's taking care of yourself, and showering. So those are
bathing, dressing, putting socks on, shoes
all
on.
of it.
All those things that you need to do just to live your daily life.
So you got to take into consideration, when a slip and fall does happen, because statistically, chances are it's going to happen. Maybe minor, it may be, a larger situation, but I have found all too often people are doing these things at the last minute, and sometimes often too late. And so the power of education and the power of knowledge and knowing what it's going to actually take for you to live safely in that home and community is important.
I was just thinking about baby-proofing a house. You baby-proof a house, so as an active adult, you might start thinking about, how do we proof our house for aging successfully?
Yes, it's interesting you say that, because there are very slight modifications that we can do. Everything from changing our light bulbs to putting stuff on an iPad. So if somebody has mobility issues, they are able to turn lights on from an iPad or some type of an integrated type app. That seems to be where we are going to head and what is happening in the future. We know that we don't have enough of the younger demographics to take care of the older demographics. I talked about those demographics and what's going to happen in 2034 and what's going to happen with the aging population and our centenarians. When you put those two together, we're going to need some help in the aging sector.
Well, and I'm just thinking too that there's going to be a shortage of places to move to.
Yes.
And so that means that the more people that do modifications and figure out aging in place, care at home, that's going to be a necessity. And maybe there's not as many caregivers to take care of people.
We do know this. We do know that the caregiving industry we're not going to have enough caregivers as you and I sit here and we're aging. As we get older, we will have those problems. However, the future of aging is really where it's at. And that is the drive in which you'll see a lot of like ARP, World Health Organization moving. They're talking big into age-friendly cities and communities. And this incorporates that transportation, the health, and all of that in living. So it's important to take a holistic approach to aging in place. And what does it mean to you?
So if you were going to consult with someone that's concerned about their spouse or concerned about their parents or their siblings, neighbor, whoever it might be, what are some of the things that you would educate them on?
Well, first of all, you need to get to kind of the root of like the move. We know that it is hard on all of us when we move. Doesn't matter what age you are, but as we get older, that moving is hard. But when you go into a person's home, you try to educate them on what resources they will have readily available. If those resources aren't available, that's a tall tale sign to that person. You might want to think about this. And also, I think the other thing behind it is it's so scary. What resources do I have? Where am I going to go? What am I going to do? And then with all the stuff in the house. And so their kids have been raised in that house. And I always tell people, when you bought this home with the intention to raise a family in it. And yes, to grow older and to do all these things. However, as we age, our houses are aging with us. And so electrical will go after 40 or 50 years of owning that house. You're going to have to redo all the electrical. You're going to have to redo all the plumbing. Those things start to spring up on older adult homeowners, putting older adult homeowners in a little bit of a bind when it comes to the financial. So we also have to look at that. And when we're talking, when's the last time you updated plumbing in the house? Because, that's going to go at some point, especially as older homeowners. We know that we've owned these homes 30, 40, 50 years. And those homes were already aging when we bought them for our families and raising a family. So when we go to sell, you're putting another family in that home to have those same exact memories as you did with your family. And that's how I try to get to the root of it. Why we moved in, why maybe it's not working for us, why we would want to see somebody else have the same type of life that we were able to provide for our own family with our kids, whether it be a school district or the neighborhood. So it's this, it's the kind of life,
Yeah, and kind of weighing out what are the aging in place modifications we can make versus what are the options. But it's very individualized.
It is.
So you really have to not get concerned about blanket statements and think about what is important to us right now. What's our situation and what are our options?
I always say to people, do these modifications when you're redoing your house, do them now. So in the future, it's already done. For instance, blocking. Blocking is just a little piece of wood that you put in your shower, and this blocking goes behind the wall. But if that blocking's there, it's very easy to just put a grab bar and install a grab bar without pulling an entire wall off.
Okay, so start thinking about this as you go.
Yes.
No matter your age.
Wider doorways. Just think about a little wider doorways. It's not going to cost much more.
And it could make the difference between you getting to stay in the home you're in versus making a move.
Right, or thresholds. Just zero transition going from room to room, so a walker can easily go from a room to room. How about non-slip flooring? That's another big thing. Just thinking about things when you're putting stuff into your home on the long term of aging, because that's the biggest part when I talk about multi-countertops and in the kitchen. People don't realize when you put in a multi-countertop, you can also take your children and they can cook at that same countertop and help you in the kitchen or do their homework, but someone in a wheelchair can pull up and do the same thing at that countertop. Multi-countertops. How about the task lighting that I was talking about? If you put lighting underneath your cabinets in your kitchen, then you don't have to have all the lights on in the kitchen. You have the lighting that is where you need it. So there's little things that are happening, and it's fascinating. The aging sector has a lot of great stuff coming out of it, and I am excited to see the extent of where we're going, where we're headed, and what's going to happen.
Well, Heather, thank you so much for all the national work that you're doing and the passion that you bring to helping people age safely. We appreciate you being on the show.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching this episode of Empowering Seniors. If you have questions about aging at home safely or any of the topics that we cover, we hope you'll reach out at 316-686-4500 or empoweringseniors@kpts.org. I'm Katherine Ambrose, and I'll see you on the next Empowering Seniors.